So good afternoon, Justin. Thanks so much for getting involved in our Business Owner Spotlight interview. I really appreciate you taking the time. Do you want to start off by introducing yourself and let us know how you got started in business?
No problem, Scott. Yeah. Well, I'd always been involved in business, even in the employed life, involved in sales and marketing for a long time. When you're in that line of work, then you always sort of aspire to one day be looking down instead of always looking up. So I've always wanted to run my own business. The opportunity came my way in 2014.
Yeah.
And I was basically getting my phone fixed. So I went to a gentleman's house to get a phone repaired. Back then we were on iPhone 4s, I think.
Okay.
And that was the state-of-the-art iPhone at the time. So went to this gentleman's house. He was a lovely guy in Dunmurray. He brought me in actually and allowed me to sort of sit there and have a cup of tea while he fixed it. Long story short, we were done in about 30 minutes and he says, that's £85. And I sort of thought, God, that's okay, that's fine, but that's a lot of money for a 30-minute repair. And I said, just out of curiosity, how much are those parts? And he told me the price and just a light bulb went off. And I said, God, a bit of practice here, and maybe this is something I could do, because I was always very practical with my hands. Plus I had the experience in business to maybe make something. So ended up buying a load of old phones on the internet, at an auction that were all broken or termed as broken. Then going about just taking them apart on my own time and teaching myself how to fix them. Out of about 40 phones, I think we got about 25 to 30 up and running.
Yeah.
The rest were then sort of salvaged for parts to make those other phones up and running. So I realized at that point in time I might be able to do this. So I started fixing friends and family's phones. And then all of a sudden I'm getting friends of friends calling me, friends of family calling me. And somebody says, look, that's brilliant. I can't get this service anywhere else. I'm so glad you're doing it. Why don't you actually do that as a job? I'll try to keep this as short as possible for you, Scott.
No, that's all right.
Literally outside of that, then I bought a load of parts in from a reputable supplier in Europe and put a small advert on Gumtree. At this time, I was working for a very large multinational as a sales manager. And I was sitting in our Monday meeting. I put the advert up on the Sunday night and sitting in the Monday meeting, and my phone was off the hook. My direct manager says to me, do you want to answer that? I was like, no, listen, I'll get it afterwards. Wondering who was trying to get a hold of me. I thought it was one person ringing repeatedly.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. It was, I came out of the meeting and there was like 15 missed calls from all different numbers.
Yeah.
So I thought, God, that couldn't be the Gumtree advert, would it? But it was. Called them all back, all looking repairs. And I just had, it was sink or swim at that stage. I just gave it, I gave it a go, and I am very technical minded and I'm very good with my hands. So I was able to just fix all of these phones. People were delighted with not only the repair, but how I dealt with them and the customer service and so on. Fast forward 6 months, I was coming home and doing 6 hours a night after my main job and earning about double what I was earning in my main occupation. Problem came along when people in the street were complaining they couldn't get parked and the kids couldn't play football for the amount of cars sitting in the street waiting on phones to be repaired, which I 100% get. So the decision had to be made. Either I continue this endeavor elsewhere or I wrap it up and just go back to my main job. Went and spoke to my main manager in the multinational, and he turned around to me and says, listen, Justin, opportunities like this don't come around that often. I say you go for it, and you've always been good to me. If it doesn't work out, I'll give you your job back. How about that? So there was my safety net.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I go for it? So I dived into it, head, feet, and hands, everything, all into it, invested everything I had. Took a shop in Lisburn, which is now open 8.5 years, right smack bang in the center of Lisburn. Sure. And we haven't stopped from that moment. There's never not been a repair in store to do. Very quickly, we rose to the very top in Northern Ireland as the place to go for repairs. The market that I had spotted was a niche, really, in high quality repairs at a fair price. A lot of places were doing cheap repairs, but using absolute awful. The parts were awful. They were never going to last. So we started using high quality parts, so people could then build a bit of trust in the third party repair market. Yeah. And honestly, from that point, then Scott, it just gave me the guts to go for anything, anytime. If I see an opportunity, just go for it. So we actually had 6 stores in IFIX at one stage. We've scaled back now to 2 very, very busy stores. We're equally as busy in 2 as we were in 6.
That's interesting, yeah.
But I'm happy sitting at that. I think we've the consumer market cornered in Belfast and Lisburn, and I'm happy enough with that. My apologies, I don't know how to mute that. But
No, so that makes sense. So you scaled it back, but you're still getting the same level of work then.
yeah, it's all learning, Scott.
Yeah.
You know yourself, business is never a linear line of success. You'll rise up, you'll make mistakes, you'll step back, but you'll learn. As long as you learn and evaluate what you learned from that, and then make changes. So that's what we realized was we can do this with a lot less staff, and as long as it's all about location for us. We want to be in those high footfall locations with a large population around you. Lisburn and Belfast just fit that demographic. When you go out to smaller towns, it's much more difficult to corner the market. Not corner the market, but it's much more difficult to get your slice of the pie, especially if there's a couple of competitors already there. You have to fight for it. Where we are now, both of our stores are highly established. Belfast 8.5 years, and Lisburn 8.5 years, and Belfast 7.5 years old.
Yeah.
So that's IFIX. I have 2 other businesses that sort of grew out of this newfound approach to just grab an opportunity when you see it. I don't know if you want to just stay focused on IFIX or.
No, listen, this is all about you. So if you want to, cool. I mean, really, what I want to do is find out about some of those mistakes you made,
right?
And how you learned from them. So I mean, what I would ask, what's been your biggest lessons or biggest learning since you've been a business owner?
Well, for me, not going too quickly. I think that sometimes when success comes, you can get very excited and you can run away with it. But it's when you dilute yourself too much is when mistakes can creep in, and you're maybe not closing doors behind you, and it's those doors that come back to bite you. You think, I'll take a chance when you didn't need to take the chance. You could have just put that to bed and moved on. So I've learned now not to do that, and take a bit more time evaluating decisions, really, rather than just. I do follow my gut almost 100% now, but I'll still sleep on it. So if my gut tells me something, I won't just make that decision there and then. I'll go to bed, sleep on it, wake up the next morning, have a coffee. Gut's still saying the same thing. All right, let's go for it.
That's worked for you, that approach, just taking a moment.
Yeah, I've learned to trust my own intuition and sort of instinct, really. Whereas before, I maybe took the advice of other people and it's backfired upon me when my gut was telling me otherwise. Sure. And then I've sort of learned, that gut feeling you had was right. You should just stick with it, and it's been right most of the time. So I go with it. If you can get 70% right with a gut feeling, that's a good success.
I suppose it's a bit down to trusting yourself there.
100%, and that's what in the last 8 years, the amount of personal growth that I've experienced is crazy. Far more than the previous 20 combined, even a factor of 4 maybe. When you're all things to all people in a business, you just learn so much so fast. You're one day you're wearing a marketing hat, the next you're in a human resources hat, the next year. You're covering everything all the time, and the more and more you learn about it, the more and more you get deeper insights to how other organizations might function. Not only that, how customers will respond to decisions that you make. So you start to really understand the mechanics of marketing and how to get customers to come and spend money in your business.
Yeah. And what would you say have been the biggest challenges you've had to overcome in the last 8.5 years?
It's been pretty tough. I'm not going to lie to you. When we opened up, we were carte blanche in the market for about 3 years. It was great. We steamed ahead. We fine-tuned our internal systems. People were just coming in their droves to the shop, but competition rose very quickly. Whenever I opened up in Lisburn, we probably had 1 or 2 within a 10-mile radius.
Sure.
There's probably 12 now.
Okay.
But they all found out what I found out. It's not just quite as easy as opening up a shop and putting a fancy sign above the door and going for it. You need to graft at it, But so competition rose pretty fiercely in the early stages. But then we had an awful disaster in Belfast, which we're only just coming out of now, and that was the Primark fire.
Okay.
My Belfast store is literally in the shadow of Primark. You know, you walk out my door across the street to Primark.
Yeah.
So when that fire, I was actually on holiday when I got the call. I was in Spain, and I got a call saying we've been evacuated. There's a fire. Awful disaster. But at the point in time, I didn't consider the repercussions of what was actually to come. But we were told, okay, look, we're out. The street's evacuated. The street's now cordoned off. The street was now in no-go zone for months. Our store was shut for about 4 to 5. It may be longer than that. It's a while ago now. I think we were shut for 4 to 5 weeks. That was like I had to pay the staff to keep them on, and we were still paying rent rates and everything else. So we stomached that and came through it. But the implications of that are still lasting to this day. Reason being is the street itself was a very busy thoroughfare into the city centre.
Yeah.
That was then shut off as a cul-de-sac. All our pass and trade disappeared overnight. We lost all of that. So it was a case of think fast and act fast. We need to readjust how we're approaching our customers here. It's no longer relying on footfall and pass and trade. We need to pull customers in now. That's what we do. So, well, combined with our existing customer base, but that wouldn't have been enough. We had to pull customers in. So we had to change our marketing, really put the foot on the gas there. I had to take the risky decision of upping our marketing budget by about 50 to 60%, which is scary when you're already on the downturn. You're like, okay, I'm going to have to invest here and trust that this is going to bring it in. And it did, thankfully. Again, that was one of those gut decisions. You know, speaking to other people, they're like, oh no, let's not spend, let's cut everything back. And I'm like, no, if we're cut back right now, we're literally putting the noose around our neck. We need to push out and market ourselves very heavily now to keep this going. And it worked. It worked really well with the support of our existing customers and then the new customers that were coming in. We made it through that. We were just getting back on our feet. And then, of course, COVID came around, and that was a real difficult one. There was a pigeon just walked around. So COVID was very difficult, and obviously not just for us. So Primark was localized to our street. COVID's a worldwide, you know, and sometimes it blows your mind when you think that you're going through this, but so is every business owner on the planet. But COVID was a real challenge. We were allowed to operate because we were deemed an essential service as such. People still needed phones and tablets to contact their loved ones. So by local council said, okay, these guys are allowed to operate because we need to keep these devices working, or people put off. Again, we then launched a on-site repair. So we would call out. We had to implement very strict hygiene routines with staff. So when we picked up phones, we had gloves, the sanitizing phones and so on, and passing them back. So we had to completely reinvent how we worked internally and externally for the second time to be able to just survive and persist. Now, we were just surviving. That's the God's honest truth, Scott. And I think that was the same with a lot of businesses. I was keeping the doors open, the lights on, and the staff paid, but that was it. And the support from the government, while 100% welcome and very much appreciated, was a drop in the ocean to what the actual cost of it was. So again, we're just on that upside now. We're coming out of it. The green shoots are showing, and we're still here, and things are going great. Actually, we just brought on 2 interns there, 2 apprentices who have literally started a week ago there. And so that's a sign that the business is growing. We've seen that we need more staff. So things are definitely going in the right direction again, but it's been tough.
So you mentioned about personal growth, and I'm getting from you, like, you know, you've got the courage of your convictions. You're not afraid to make a decision, you know, and there's a saying in business, if the decision is too easy to make, it's too late. You know, so I get the sense that you've grasped that, but a lot of people get caught up in the transactional stuff. How much do you attribute your mindset to your success?
Without sounding big-headed or anything like that, it's almost all down to that. Because when those hard times come and those big tough decisions need to be made, it's all on me, and it's all on me. Yes, I'll consult other people. But if you make the wrong decision at that time, it can be a curtain call. I have a very, very strong mindset, certainly in business anyway. And I'm able to, I feel like I've got fairly good foresight, so I can see things coming that other people will not until they're on their doorstep.
Yeah.
And I can either circumvent them or prevent them happening altogether. But it's just about being, there's the old saying, work smarter, not harder. So
Yeah.
finding ways to make sure that we're not running into difficulties down the line by implementing good practice, making sure the staff are all well motivated and educated in what we're doing. But back to the question, my personal fortitude had to be 100% through all this, because if the fish rots from the head down. If I'm not strong and showing a good face in front of all this adverse conditions, then the staff are going to feel it too, and I don't want them to feel threatened or worried. I'll just always say, look, we're going to get through this. We've been through similar before. It's very important as a business owner.
So you mentioned about motivating the staff and maybe shielding them from some stuff. What about you? Like, who's been your best coach you've ever had, and why?
So honestly, I do listen to a lot of audiobooks. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Some of the real old school stuff, but the old school stuff still holds great fruit today. If I feel that my mental fortitude is waning at all, I'll go to an audiobook. I have a lovely German Shepherd at home, Rain, and when I walk her twice a day, the headphones go on, the audiobook goes on, so you can get a couple of hours a day while walking the dog. Of this stuff that slowly just lifts your mood or makes you think a bit differently about a situation, or it can provide a bit of clarity in a very difficult situation. Sometimes you get eureka moments listening to that stuff. You're like, of course, that's what I should be doing. But also my family, my dad's a great man. He is the biggest believer in all of his sons. He's always there. He's always got your back, and he's always ready to lend a hand. And just his attitude to life and that attitude has rolled over into all of us. I have 3 brothers, and we're all very positive, and even in the face of adversity, we'll always try, okay, look, this is coming our way. Let's face it and go on with it.
Right. And what about, have you any favorite quotes or sayings? You mentioned a couple earlier, but like, is there anyone that really serves you well that you always go back to?
Yeah, I think opportunities, they don't come around that often. So you miss 100% of the opportunities you don't take. I hear people talk to me, because I'm in business and I've multiple businesses. People often ask me, how do you handle all that all the time? And it's about working smarter, not harder, and delegation and so on. So I'm not literally trying to do everything. I have to trust the people around me to do the tasks that they're meant to do. But it's I'm kind of forgetting the question there as I drifted off.
Yeah, so you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yes, so people talk to me all the time. Sorry, when they're talking about, I would like to do this and I would like to do that.
Yes.
And my question is just, well, why haven't you? I don't have the money, or it's not the right time. But there is no right time for this. For any. I understand there's maybe really bad times. Don't do it right then. But you're never really if you're always waiting for the right time, it's just never going to happen. And somebody else is going to do it, and then you're going to be looking at it going, I should have done that. It's too late then. Well, it's not necessarily too late, but you missed an opportunity to corner a market.
So what about the future? What does the future look like for you, and what do you see as the main challenges moving forward then?
Honestly, right now, the cost of living crisis has people nervous. People are tightening the purse strings a little bit. And we're seeing that, but we're trying to help with that as well. So we're trying to offer deals in our phone store where we're offering screen protectors with repairs, things like that. That's the biggest challenge going forward here. Outside of that, we are in a period of expansion in my second business. So Timescape Live Escape Games is a live escape game experience. So you play escape games with your friends in themed rooms. We have 3 rooms there up and running, Titanic, Jack the Ripper, and Spellbound. But we've space for 3 more sitting ready to go. We built all 3 pre-COVID. COVID hit and the brakes were on. We just said, let's sit here. But now we're ready to expand that. So we're only really at 50% of operation with that company, and we're now about to push to 100%. That's going to take up probably the bulk of my next year and a half to 2 years to get
Cool.
that up and running. But that's a hugely successful business already at 50%. So I'm very excited to see the capabilities of that at 100%.
Yeah, brilliant.
And then, you know, if we get to 6 rooms here, I would maybe like to go to Dublin and replicate it down there.
Cool.
Or across the water in the England, you know.
Yeah.
So IFIX is going to stay at 2 stores consumer wise. I don't see anywhere where I can go in and make a big enough impact that would be beneficial to the company.
Sure.
The big area that we're going to develop really in the next 12 to 18 months is corporate repair. So large national companies, local companies, multinationals that hold a lot of devices, phones, tablets, laptops that need rapid repair. We don't want those devices falling out and sitting on a shelf somewhere. We want to get them repaired, get them back out to customers ASAP. I have a very, very small fledgling company called We Are VR. This is basically mobile virtual reality. We take high-end virtual reality and bring it to, believe it or not, weddings, birthday parties, corporate functions, public events, whatever. If anybody wants it there, we've had inquiries of just a family hiring, you know, wanting to hire the evening and bring it in, and it is the very high end of virtual reality, so it's the best experience people can get, and it's fully mobile. We cover all of Northern Ireland. That's slowly growing. Again, I launched that in September 2019. We were just getting traction. COVID came along, and my focus turned back to my 2 existing businesses. I went, okay, let's shelve that for a bit. Go back to Timescape and IFIX, make sure they survive this, and then when the dust settles, I can go back to building this again. It's a very scalable model. If I can make this work in Northern Ireland, then I definitely intend on taking that UK wide. That's the intention. That's where we're going with that. That's also going to happen with the help of an external marketing agency over the next 12 to 18 months. And
exciting times ahead then.
Yeah, well, look, once the green shoots of progress starts showing again, you've got to capitalize on it. You can't just sit back and go, okay, everything's fine. It's time to grow and
ramp it up.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I like it. So let's just to finish up. If you could go back in time when you were starting your business again, say your first one, IFIX, is there anything you would do differently?
Yes. God, maybe a few things. Yeah. A few things I would do differently. The movement out to 6 stores so rapidly, we did that in a very short space of time. I would have considered that much more. Again, I mentioned earlier that people, when they get an idea and progress is happening, they get very excited, and you run away with it. And that's what happened to me. I was, I'm driving town to town and looking for premises without actually fully considering the ins and outs of it 100%. Now, don't get me wrong, I could have opened those 6 and I could have persisted, and we probably would be very successful. But I'd probably look 20 years older than I do right now. It would have been a very stressful environment. It's a very difficult to manage type of business when they're all so far apart. Technicians for phone repair are also not something you can train for. So we can't go and find people just out of university or out of school. We need to find people who are similar to where I was before I started, a bit of experience, and train them up. So that was the biggest problem with staffing. So I wouldn't have rushed out and opened 6 stores, if you like. I would have much more slow organic growth.
Consolidated growth. I like it. Now, so listen, really appreciate you coming on. Brilliant story. I enjoy listening to it. Thinking actually I must come and see you get my phone fixed.
Pop down and see us. We'll look after it.
Look, I really appreciate it. I can't wait to share it. There's loads of stuff in there I think people need to hear. Thank you, Justin.
Great. Okay, you're very welcome. Thanks very much.